Booktube, it's Jackie. How's it going? If you're new to me, it's the first time you're seeing my face, hello, what's up? My name's Jackie. I sit on my floor and I talk about books. So that's why you're here, because that's what's going to be happening today. If you are not new to me, thank you for tuning in. The continued support, really do appreciate it. So today for you, I have my weekly wrap up. This is from October 16th through October 22nd and all my reading shenanigans in between. So I've got a little bit to talk about, some really good stuff to talk about for sure. So without further ado, grab yourself a drink, have yourself a seat, and let's get talking some books. All right. So this week I participated in a buddy read with Beck X Read and Issa over at Fun Fantasy Books. I will link both their channels down below. And we buddy read Long Live the Pumpkin Queen by Shea Earnshaw. This was the first book I completed this week, and I completed it in a day. This was a super, super fast read. It was fun, perfect for the holiday season. I did only give it 3 stars. It is a standalone and is young adult, so hence why it lends to reading very, very quickly. But essentially what this is the follow-up story to Nightmare Before Christmas. Nightmare Before Christmas has already happened. Jack and Sally have become married, and Sally finds herself becoming the Pumpkin Queen and not really knowing exactly what to do. Because if you're at all familiar with Nightmare Before Christmas, Sally wasn't really the most outspoken. She tried, but she wasn't always listened to. She was kind of overlooked. This quiet little rag doll kind of thrown in the corner that no one really pays attention to. And that definitely carries over into the beginning of this book. Her fears, her worries about becoming queen, and Jack just being this persona, just this, huge character. And then she's saddled with this kind of like, I don't really know what to do. I'm in his shadow type deal. And she kind of gets drowned. During their honeymoon, they get to go to some new towns. They visit Valentine's Day town, which was kind of cute, really sickeningly sweet, little too sweet for my taste. Me and Becky are in agreement on that. We are both kind of like, little cringy with the float flying babies around. But after they come back from their anniversary or their honeymoon, and they really need to start taking a role in this, monarchy that they are in Halloween Town, there's a moment where it just becomes too much for Sally. She's trying on this dress that they're trying to put her in, and it's symbolic of literally engulfing her. She's just drowning in this organza and tuft, and it's just, she can't handle it. So she flees and she runs into the Grove of Doors, where you can get to all the different holiday towns. But Zero comes with her, their little dog, and Zero locates a new door that's been hidden, and it's got a moon on it, and this is Dreamtown. And this is where our story really kicks off, when Sally goes into Dreamtown and starts a chain reaction of events that she has to solely alone figure out how to overcome. And so through this journey, you see her grow, you see her become strong. She's no longer the shy, quiet little rag doll. She's now this queen within her own right. And it's a very endearing story. It's very, very fun. I had a really good time with this. This was also my Red Witch and Bitchin' Book Club of the month, for this month. And we'll be discussing it next Saturday with my book club. So I'm really anxious to see what my girls think of it, because we're all big Nightmare Before Christmas fans. Nightmare Before Christmas is a huge thing for me. It was incorporated in my wedding. It was actually written around the ring of my cake, which these guys sat on. It says "Simply Meant to Be," and I definitely quoted that in my wedding. I also had the lyrics of the song framed and put up on a mantle where we got married. So it's very much endearing to us, and I also watch it every Christmas Eve with my daughter. That's our tradition. We curl up on the couch. So this story really needed to pack a punch for me, and the fact that I only gave it 3 stars was a little disheartening, but it still gave me that same feeling that Nightmare Before Christmas did, and that still sense of romantic spooky that I love, and it has endeared that movie to me forever. So yes, in reading style, I only gave it a 3, but in memories that it invoked, this thing definitely brought forth Nightmare Before Christmas vibes. It still gave me those vibes that I love. And that was one of the things that really worked in this book, was the original tie-ins to the story. They were there, they were on point. We saw characters that we were introduced to in that movie. We got a little bit more of their backstories, a little bit more of their personalities. Jack was just as loud, as boisterous as he is in the movie, and it was fantastic. And we got to meet some new characters that fit right in. They could have been in the original movie and it would have been fine. It would have been fantastic. So I was definitely pleased with the tie-ins. You can tell Shea Earnshaw either is a huge fan of Nightmare Before Christmas, or it is a big, big part of her life, because she did pay a very good homage to it. So if you are a lover of Nightmare Before Christmas, this will not ruin it for you. At least I don't think. I think it just adds another layer to the story that has been ingrained in us since we were kids. I also love the new worlds and the new characters. We got to meet so many new characters and we got introduced to so many different worlds. There's a point where Sally actually enters every single door, and we kind of meet people, but especially we meet people in Valentine's Day Town, and there's a couple of Easter eggs in there that I could definitely see maybe turning into maybe future installments, turning this into a kind of a series. Right now it is just a standalone, but I could definitely see this going places with all these different worlds, especially towards the end where we find out exactly like how many worlds there really are. It was just fantastic. I was like, oh my God, I could get worlds all over the place. This is fucking amazing. This is Christmas for me. This is fantastic. I love that element of the story. It was great. I also really like the fact that Sally gets a backstory. That's one of the main components of this story, is that we get to know about Sally. We find out who she really is, and what we have been led to believe for years is not the truth. So it's just really cool that we finally get a backstory, which makes this romance between her and Jack even more spectacular. It's just, it was so nice. It was such a good time learning Sally's backstory and just learning her ups and downs, and just seeing the trials that she had to go through when she didn't actually know the real truth, and then how Jack acted when he found out her backstory. Oh, that endeared Jack to me even more. I love Jack even fucking more now because of that. It was fantastic. It was great. It was awesome. However, what didn't work, and this is what really knocked it down for me, the ending, for as much buildup as there was in this book, the ending was very lackluster. It happened and you think, oh, this is awesome. And then something else happens. You're like, really? That was the cause for all of this? Really? Well, shit, that's not exciting at all. That's actually kind of fucking depressing. So that really kicked it down. It was a solid 4 for me for a long time, up until that ending got relayed. I was like, yeah, you should have cut that. Wasn't a huge fan of that, but you have to understand this is YA. This is based off a Disney story. So we do have an HEA, and we are still endeared to all these characters, and these new characters we become even more endeared to. So the ending worked for the feeling of the book, but for me, I just wanted more punch, because I kind of liked the way it ended before the next thing happened. And I was like, yeah, that's awesome. Great. So lackluster ending, knocked it down to 3, but I still had a really good time with this. I thought it was fun. Definitely, if you're a Nightmare Before Christmas fan, pick this up. If you're just a Jack and Sally fan, pick this up, or you just want to see what the buzz is about, this is not a bad read. And I read it in one sitting. And when I mean one sitting, it wasn't even like a full day. I read this in like 4 or 5 hours with lunch in between. So, I mean, it reads really, really fast. And also the font is huge on it, so that helps. But yes, I was very happy with this, even though I only give it 3 stars. Okay. The next book I completed was an audiobook, and it is Resurrection by Siobhan Davis, and it looks like this. This was the first installment in the Sainthood, the Boys of Lowell High. This is a dark high school romance, and the audiobook was done by Ramona Masters and Wen Ross. However, I have this in a box set on Audible. This installment is only Ramona Masters. Wen Ross does not come in until, I believe, the second installment. So this whole installment is literally just from our female protagonists, female heroines' point of view. So I was a little upset about that, because I was expecting to hear Wen Ross, and I never did, but he is in future installments. So this is a reverse harem. dubious consent, bully romance, and hate to love. There is also edge play with torture and gunplay. Oh yeah, we're breaking back into the edge play again. Yeah. And then there is sexual assault, there's underage sexual actions, and there is an age gap at some point in time in this book. There is a shit ton of triggers in this book. Not to mention, it's a dark high school romance. Everybody in this book, except for the parents, are high schoolers. So that makes all of these triggers like even more intense. So we follow Harlow, who in a depressed revenge moment after her dad passes away, hooks up with 4 members of the junior sainthood, Saint, Galen, Theo, and Kaz. She has walked in on her boyfriend cheating on her. Her father has just died, so she's also intoxicated after driving, and she's like, fuck this shit. I need to fuck my feelings out. And that's what she does with the junior members of the sainthood. And Saint, being their leader, is the male lead heroine. I find a lot of reverse harems, there's always at least one main guy. Saint's our main guy, so she's the one that really draws her in, and everyone else just kind of plays along. However, this hookup is filmed and then spread across the World Wide Web, and that causes her to have to leave her prep academy school and attend Lowell High School, public high school, where now the boys are attending because they want to take over their territory. They want the sainthood to be in charge of the drug ring there, along with other illegal activities. Their gang is wanting to take their turf. There is another twist that happens within this book that we find out Harlow's mother, shortly after her father's death, is now hooking up with the lead member of the senior saints and the head president of the sainthood across the United States. They are hooking up and getting married. So now there's a saint in her house. Oh, and also, yeah, that guy is Saint, the one she hooked up with's dad. So now Saint, the man she hooked up with in the video, is now living with her along with all of 3 of his friends because they are in their recruitment to become senior saints of the sainthood. And so now she is forced to live with the 4 men that now claim her as one of their own. And that's not something you really want for the sainthood to be protecting you. At least we don't think. As the story progresses, we find out that Harlow is planning something. The saints are planning something. There's a lot of subterfuge in this book, a lot of, pieces moving, a lot of moving pieces, a lot of puzzle pieces, and eventually we all kind of get them put together at the end of the story. But it is a cliffhanger, so we do have future installments. This is the first in a trilogy. So this thing, there's a lot of stuff going on in this book. There's a lot. I mean, it's a reverse harem. There's always a lot of stuff in reverse harems going on because you have so many different storylines, but there's a lot of subterfuge, a lot of secrets. Just when reading this, you gotta pay attention. You gotta be careful because things are gonna get overlooked and get crossed over. Also, it doesn't help that she constantly talks about the saints and then Saint because of his name. So what actually worked in this book, the multiple plot points, they kept you engaged, they kept you on your toes, but you do have to pay attention to them because you could get lost very, very easily. They are that closely related and closely aligned that you could lose your way very, very easily. The cliffhanger ending, that thing was dope. I loved it, didn't see that one coming. When it happened, I wasn't surprised, but I didn't see it coming, and there's a difference. Because the character involved, I was not one bit surprised that that was the one that did it, but that it happened, yes, that's what surprised me, and I thought that was really cool. And the male heroes, the actual harem themselves, Saint, Galen, Theo, and Kaz, all of them had their arcs, all of them had their own storylines, all of them had their own issues with Harlow and their own loves with Harlow, and I love that we got to see that individually with each character. I thought that was fantastic because the reverse harems that I have read, I don't normally get that. So I liked being able to actually ship certain ones together and reasons why I would ship them together. And I thought that was great. What didn't work? I did not like the original premise of how Harlow got involved with the sainthood in the first place. I didn't like it. She literally walks into a room trying to get away from her boyfriend who who she just caught cheating on her. And to get away from him, she walks into her room. And they take it upon themselves saying, well, we don't do anything for free. Okay, I get it. Okay, cool. They open the door as he's banging the door. They don't say a fucking word to the dude. She does all the talking. Does it all. She just happens to be standing next to him. Or next to Saint. And his arm happens to be around her. And that shoos him away. And I'm like, excuse me? That's what the sex scene is about to happen? That's what warranted that? Really? That's how she gets... What? I just thought that was a little unbelievable. I was just like, really? Harlow, you did it your fucking self. Why are you... That's bullshit. I didn't like that. I think they could have done something cooler. Siobhan Davis was not afraid to make you uncomfortable in this book. So for that to be the reason that she got involved with them, it wasn't potent enough. It wasn't strong enough. I was just like, that's kind of lackluster for me. I didn't really like Harlow as a character. There are parts I did. I thought her snarkiness was really cool. I thought her wit was really cool. I liked her comebacks. I liked how she didn't take shit, but it was just never ending. Harlow, something happened to her as a child, and you do find out, but it caused her to act a certain way. Very on the defensive, never letting people in, no feelings, a lot of self-defense courses, things of that nature, and it's just, she brags about how big of a badass she is all the time, and how she's always ahead, one step ahead of the guys, and how, how she was trained, how she could just take out all these people. And then when you have this twist ending, it's like, joke's on you, bitch. Guess you were not that fucking smart. Maybe you should have shut up and like actually listened and paid attention instead of saying, I'm collecting intel, but I'm going to do this. The guy, she was never ahead of them. And it got really annoying because you learned very quickly that she was not in charge, but she acted like she was. And I liked the struggle, the fight for the dominance. I enjoyed that. But when she got one-upped, she didn't act like she got one-upped. She was just got, oh, well, if things were different. Yeah, if things were different, you might have one-upped them, but they're not. And that's not the situation you're in, so shut the fuck up. Like, she just got really annoying because it was so repetitive. And you learned it very early on that she was not in charge. Had maybe it looked like she was more in charge throughout the entirety of the book, then maybe I would have bought that, but she wasn't. And it just got really aggravating. And there were multiple times where I just wanted to look at her and be like, shut the hell up, keep your mouth shut, eyes open, ears open, and listen, and you will see your fucking way out. But you keep running your damn mouth and you get in deeper shit every single time because of your damn mouth. And she just grated on me a lot. But there were many times where she slammed the boys verbally, and it was fucking hilarious. That was funny because she did not give a fuck about what she said. And sometimes it was well-timed and well-placed, and it was enjoyable. So, love-hate relationship with Harlow. I did not really like the fact that they were in high school. I know this is a high school dark romance, and it is, fantasy, it's fake, but I don't think high schoolers would be this mature in some of the scenarios they were put in. It was just slightly far-fetched for me. It just didn't sit well with me. Maybe like college or something, I might have bought it, but these guys are like 17, 18, and I'm like fully tattooed, the whole 9 yards. And yes, there's heavy gang activity in the school and stuff, but I'm sitting here, I'm like, no, I don't really buy that angle. And it also made some of the stuff that they did a lot more twisted. And I think that's the main reason, is because they are in high school and makes these serious things that they're doing even more dark and twisty, which adds to the success of the dark romance of this book. But it's just, for me, I was just like, I would have preferred you to be in college. I just wouldn't, I don't know, settled better with me, because I would have feel like you'd had more of the mental capacities to do what you were dealing with. And the last thing that didn't really work for me was Galen and Theo. They're 2 members of the group. Their issues are with Harlow they are mentioned, but they're not really fleshed out. So you only get like bits and pieces. So I'm hoping in future installments, they will get fleshed out and I'll get to see more of those like backstories and why the hatred is so strong with some and the protection is so strong with the other. Like, I really want to know what the backstory was. I only know bits and pieces. So I was kind of hoping for that, but I didn't get it. But however, we did get it with Saint. So hopefully through future installments, we'll start to see them. So that was just something, but that's probably could be easily remedied in the rest of the series. I did give this book a 3-star, and I do plan on continuing with the rest of the series because another thing that really worked in this book, their sex scenes. I gave this thing a 4.75 on Chili Pepper scale. This thing was hot and steamy and dark and twisty and just panty soaker extraordinaire. Like, this thing was fucking on fire. This thing had equal sex to plot. I mean, for every plot development, there was something sexually related to go with it. So it was parallel with the sex and the plot, and I love that. We did have the edge play, which added up to the kink level. There is some gunplay in this, and that was pretty intense. It's not a very big scene, but it's a very important scene. And I did not realize the importance of it when I was reading it or listening to it until later on. I was like, oh. So that was really cool. They took a scene that was really, I thought, just a shock value and turned it into something that's really fucking important. So I really liked Siobhan Davis did that. And she did that with quite a few other times, but that scene in particular really stuck out to me. A lot of the sex in this is hate sex. There's a lot of hate sex. So it is aggressive. It is violent. It is mean. It is domineering. It is fighting for control back and forth through all the parties. And I just fucking loved that. Siobhan Davis went to town with some of these sex scenes and it was fantastic. And I really liked how she talked about the next, like the day after, the markings and how Harley would wear them proud. She's like, here's my fucking scars, kiss my ass. I'm just like, yeah, that's when I really liked Harlow, with shit like that. Cause she was like, yeah, fuck off. Who cares? And she owned it. She owned it. And I thought it was great. And I loved just the way her sex scenes were described. They were, I didn't have a hard time envisioning it, and I got the emotion behind it, which I really fucking loved. And when she took the hate out and started bleeding in this romantic element, it was seamless. Because first we're having hate sex, and all of a sudden by the end I'm like, these two fucking love each other. Holy shit, when that fucking happen? Like, it was great. So her sex scenes really helped this book out a lot. And Saint, I loved Saint. He was my favorite. The possessiveness of him, I loved him. I loved his arc. He was one of my favorites. And also, big kudos. I have not read a lot of reverse harems, but every reverse harem I have read, there's never been a group scene. This is the first reverse harem that I have read that has a group scene of all 5 members, and it's fucking awesome. I did not have to sit there and try to figure out whose legs were where and whose penis was in who or whatnot. I didn't have to figure that out. It was clearly displayed, laid out, and it was hot and it was steamy and it was fucking awesome. And I had a fucking blast for it. But sadly, I did not get any more of that. But I'm hoping, because it was kind of hinted, that we're going to get some more. So if you're looking for a reverse harem or a wide choose, I've been saying reverse harem, but it's also wide choose, that has a group scene, this one does. So awesome. The last thing I want to say about this book, though, is although I gave it 3 stars, this is very reminiscent of The Silver Swan for me. I mean, The Silver Swan was published in 2017, and this one was published in 2021. And it felt like, and I hate to say this, but it felt kind of like a bad version of Emo Jones with the way the revelations were popping up. Emo Jones has this really unique way, and we talk about it here in a second, really unique way of revealing her secret elements that she is peppered through her book. And Siobhan Davis looked like she was trying to do that. And we also have their high schoolers in The Silver Swan. They're in high school. They're this group of like non-athletic people. The Elite Kings were non-athletes, but nobody wanted to tango with them. Never want to tango with these guys. They end up living in the same house. Like, there were just so many similarities to The Silver Swan that I felt like it was kind of a homage paid to it. But the beautiful element of Silver Swan, this the way she revealed all of her secrets and just kind of layered it, keeping you confused the entire time, but yet you weren't confused because you know something was going on. Siobhan Davis doesn't have it yet. I think she can get it, and I'm hoping in future installments it'll get there, but it wasn't with this one, but it looked like that's what she was trying to do. It just didn't, it wasn't executed as well as Emo Jones had done it. And that's really sad, because the next book I'm about to talk about is In Peace Lies Havoc by Emo Jones. While I was listening to Resurrection, I was physically reading this book, and this is the Smut Club book of the Smut Club book of the month, hosted by Cheyenne over at That Tall Book Girl and McKay at Oh Hey It's McKay. I'll link both their channels down below. This is this month's selection, and I was reading this while listening to Resurrection. So, learned my lesson: do not read multiple reverse harems at the same time, because that shit gets really fucking confusing. Really confusing. But while I was listening to that, I was definitely comparing it to The Silver Swan, seeing that I was also reading the same writing style and In Peace Lies Havoc. So that maybe didn't help matters for this comparison that I was doing internally, but it's just something I needed to point out. If you are a fan of Emo Jones, you will see some homage to the Resurrection, but it wasn't there. But enough about that book. Let's talk about In Peace Lies Havoc, because this thing was 4 fucking stars. This thing was awesome. Oh, I love this thing. This is another first installment. It's the first installment to the Midnight Mayhem series. We do have triggers for rape, dubious consent, forced proximity, hate to love, bully romance, and I would not call this a reverse harem. I would say almost a partial, because sexual acts happen with the group of men, but it's clearly defined that that is the dubious consent parts. It's not necessarily the choosing moments. It's not, it's just an element of the world that they are in. There is a clear leader of this group, and so that's why I say it's maybe like partial reverse harem. But we do have an HEA with this, with the cliffhangers. So we have another dualist type thing in this book, which I think is really cool. In this, we follow Dove Hendry. She is kidnapped and forced to perform in the Midnight Mayhem, which is kind of like a dark circus, but it's not. It's like an X-rated circus. It's pretty cool. I kind of want to go see this thing because it sounded really fucking cool. She is forced to be part of the Brothers of Kismet show, where she encounters Kingston, Keaton, Kyron, and Killian, who they basically psychologically, emotionally, and sexually torture her for the sake of the show, for the sake of the storyline. Yeah, lots of stuff's happening. Kingston is our main guy, though. He's the one that definitely takes the forefront. And when I say, that's why I said it's a partial reverse harem, you see some very minor sexual encounters with some of the other members, but it's mainly just with him. You just happen to have these other 3 that kind of help facilitate that hookup between Kingston and Dove. But as the story progresses, you realize that there is chemistry between Dove and Kingston. And it's not just, immediate insta-lust. There is history. There's chemical history between them. And you know this, but you don't really know why. You just don't, because Harlow is dealing, or not Harlow, I'm sorry. See, this is why you don't read 2 reverse harems at the same time. Dove doesn't really understand this draw and this pull that she has to him, because he is so disgusted by her and hates her and wants to kill her all the time. And it's just this psychological mindfuck. Emo Jones does this so fucking well. She gives you this kernel of knowledge, and then throughout the rest of the book, she decides to confuse the fuck out of you the rest of the book on this one kernel, and then at the end, everything has come to place, and you're just like, how the fuck did you just do that? I don't know when you did it, but how did you do it? She's a legit witch, okay? Witch. Swear to God. With her writing. It's crazy. What worked? The plot twist, this staggering revelations that Emo Jones does. She did it in Silver Swan. She does it in this. It's excellent. You will get revelations. So you have multiple plot lines, right? You have this plot line, this plot line, this plot line, this plot line. You'll get a revelation for this plot line, but it won't make sense for this plot line until you get to this revelation all the way up here. And then it all kind of connects. And it's just the way she times this, I don't know how she writes her books. I would love to see if she has a storyboard where she marks her timings, because that's what it feels like. It's timed so perfectly. You are so annoyed and so pissed off because you don't know what's going on that she gets you to this brink that you're just like, I'm about to fucking throw this book. And then she gives you the resolution and you're like, holy shit, what? But then this resolution fucks this storyline that you thought you had under control. And you're like, the fuck are you doing with me, lady? It's insane. Fucking sane. But it's so awesome. It keeps you engaged. It keeps you engrossed. It's amazing. The chemistry between Dove and Kingston, I fucking loved it. It was there. It was on point. It was intense. I could feel it. I got goosebumps so many times in this book. Oh my God. So many times. So fucking many times. I would sit there and just be like chilled because it was so intense. I was so in it. Their chemistry is off the fucking charts. And the best part about their chemistry is you don't fucking know why it's there, because Kingston fucking hates Dove and Dove's scared the death of him. And you're just like, what in the fuck? Because Kingston talks in these cryptic terms every once in a while and you're just like, what the fuck is that supposed to mean? You find out, but you're like, huh? And it fucking scares her, but then she's like turned on by it. Oh my God, it's excellent. It's excellent. Kingston's character arc. I love him. I loved watching his arc. His arc was amazing. It's probably one of my favorite parts of this book because he comes full circle. It's, you hate him, then you're attracted to him, then you hate him again, then you want to fuck him, then you start falling in love with him, and then you hate him again, and then you want to fuck him blind because you hate him so fucking much, just to prove like, hey, you just fucking lost me as a fan here. And then he just throws this thing in a left field and you're like, I just want to hold you and like take care of you. Like, it's the gambit of emotion for Kingston. Gambit of emotions. I fucking loved him. This is the start to a series, so there is a bigger plot point flowing through the story, and that is interlaced through all of these other revelations through the story. So that bigger plot story, I think, is gonna be fucking dope. But she writes that big plot just like she writes her individual books. I have no idea what the fuck's going on. I know shit's going down, but I don't really know. So you're gonna have to read the future installments to figure out the big plot, to figure it out. But you know it's there. You just don't really know what it is or what's happening or who's involved and who's gonna stay around. And yeah, like, we have no idea. But we know it's there. And it's that intriguing that you want to keep reading it. Witchcraft. What didn't work? This idea that it was a reverse harem, but it wasn't. I thought in the beginning going in, I was going to get a reverse harem, and then I didn't, and I was kind of disappointed about it, and then I thought I was going to get it again. It kept coming back into sequence like this, and you're like, this is getting kind of fucking annoying. Like, make up your damn mind. So that was an element that bothered me. Okay, so I have only read one other Mo Jones book, and that is The Silver Swan, which you can kind of see over here in the corner over here. That's the only other book I've ever read by Mo Jones. And that is the first installment to the Elite Kings Club series, which there's like 7 or 8 books entirety of that series. I firmly suggest that you read more Mo Jones books prior to this one, because there are 3 guys in The Silver Swan that are mentioned in this book. They are not spoiled. That book is not spoiled. Silver Swan is not spoiled in this book. As far as I know, it is not spoiled. Their names are just mentioned. But there is another character in this book that we meet that Dove becomes sort of friends with. Her name is Bee, and she takes her out to dinner and tells her about her experience with Midnight Mayhem. And Dove says, you should write a book. And she's like, oh, I'm a step ahead of you. And she throws a book on the table. It's called Manic. And it has a male on the cover that looks like his head is bursting into crows. I was like, oh, that's really cool. When I felt like I was reading this out of order and I felt like I was going to get spoiled, I went to a Mo Jones website for her reading list. She does not give a clear reading list. She gives a reading list within her series. But I found a book, a standalone, called Manic. Has the half-naked man on the cover with his head bursting to crows, about Bee in this book. All right? So That book, I don't think is spoiled. I've never read it, but just a heads up, you might want to read that book before this one because it makes an appearance. Other than that, those are the only two tie-ins that I was able to find. Again, I've only read this one book and I found the other one because I went to the website. So that bothered me about it, but that is my own personal thing. If that doesn't bother you, you're still going to enjoy this book. But that just irked me because I read the three guys' names over here. And I was like, oh no, no, you are not spoiling that fucking series for me. You're not doing it. So I actually was tempted to put this book down and refinish that series really quickly. But I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that because I'm already going to get confused because I'm already confused now. But yeah, so I would recommend that you possibly read the Elite King Club series and maybe some of her standalones prior to reading this one. If you are planning on picking this up, just because there are some Easter eggs in it. And then the other thing that really kind of bothered me in this book, and this is just my own personal preference because reverse harems, why chooses, they're already difficult to follow in and of itself. And even though this is not really a full reverse harem, there's a lot of male characters that get involved in this, and they all have names that start with K. We have Kingston, Killian, Kyron, Keaton, Cohen, Klaus, just to name a few. And there's a couple others. I just couldn't remember them because they named them all with K. So I'm wondering if that's going to be an element later on in the story, per se. I'm not quite for sure. Or is just a creative detail that Emo Jones wanted to emphasize. But it definitely threw me a lot. Because I knew Kingston, but the other ones, they didn't have as big of roles with Dove. So when Dove encountered them, I was just kind of like, which one are you again? Are you the one that hates her? Are you the gay? Like, which one are you? Like, it threw me because of all the different K names. I was like, that's annoying. That was annoying. And then the declaration at the end was just a little too fast for me, but I get it because once you know what's going on, it does make sense. But for me, I was just kind of like, really? Did I even need that? I didn't even need that. I'd been happy if you did not put that in. So, the spice rating for this one, 4 chili peppers. Emo Jones brought it well, and it was fucking hot. Oh God, it was hot. There were so many graphic language and sexualized situations, especially during like the shows, the 3 Rings of Death and the final act, just all of these sexualized, overly sexualized stories, dealing with their circus performance. And then you have Dove's dancing ability, just the way it was described and the way she moved. It felt very Sucker Punch to me with Sweet Pea when she danced. It just mesmerized people. That's what I was envisioning like all the time when she was doing her dance scenes. I was like, fuck yeah. And I love Sucker Punch. I don't know if you guys ever watched that movie. Go watch it. I love that movie. It's a great movie. Total mindfuck though. And we did have some sexual assault scenes, which they were uncomfortable, but there was, not justification. There was I can't think of the word. There was not retribution. There was consequences. There was consequences for it. That's what I'm looking for. There was consequences and you saw them. So that was very, very nice. I enjoyed that when books do that, when they use that element of sexual assault, but they show the consequences that are attached to it. So I thoroughly enjoyed the fact that that was shown. We do have anal sex in this. We do have some minor blood transference and a lot of hate sex. I read a lot of hate sex this month. This past week. A lot of hate sex. A lot of it. But this thing was fantastic. Definitely plan on completing with the rest of the series. Can't wait for the live show for this, which will be October 24th. I believe it's a Monday. And I think it starts at like 7 p.m. I have to check the time, but I will link it down below once it goes up. I am not on the panel, but I'll just be typing in my answers and his stuff. So yeah, this was fantastic. Mo Jones. I fucking love this bitch. I love the way she writes. She confuses me and pisses me off, but god damn, she's good. She is fucking awesome. And the last book I read this week, which I am in the process of finishing, I'm almost done, is King of Battle and Blood by the amazing Scarlett St. Clair. This thing's fucking amazing. I'm just devouring this. I read majority of this in a day. Like, I started this on Friday, and I read majority of that Saturday. So, yeah, this thing reads so fucking fast. There are so many different elements in that I wasn't prepared for. Like, I knew this was vampires. I was not expecting witches. I was not expecting this reincarnation feeling that I'm getting from this book. I don't know if I'm for sure on that one because I haven't gotten to really the conclusion yet. But stuff is starting to happen. Things are happening. Adrian's fucking awesome. I feel for him. Isolde, yeah, I'm still on the fence about her. I really like Adrian, though. Like him a lot. But Isolde does not take shit. I do know I like that about her. But I'll see how she works within the romance with Adrian that is starting to build and develop. The only thing I'm not really liking so much is that there is a war going on. Adrian is the King of Blood, and he is conquering all of the kingdom that they're in. And Isolde is asked to be his wife to spare her realm. And she agrees. And her people think that now she's like a traitor, and she's doing it to protect her people. She asked for a promise that you will protect my people and you will let them live as they are, and you won't, hurt them. And they have turned their back on her. But so we have this battle, this King of Blood going to all these different realms and conquering them. But once Isolde comes around, it like kind of stops. It's like, we're not really going to proceed anymore with this. So I don't know if that's going to come in future installments, or there's going to be some big thing at the end of this that I just haven't got to that will be like, oh shit, that's why. But the romance building this is definitely sex fueled. They have instant fucking chemistry, hot steamy sex that's super potent, super awesome. Adrian's badass. I fucking love him. And it's fucking hot. It is. It is not as hot as Touch of Darkness. But I can definitely see a little bit of Hades in Adrian, but I see a different character. But I still see some of the possessive traits that Hades has in Adrian, but I like the secrecy that she's given Adrian. It is more, Hades played things close to the vest, but he still let certain people in. Adrian doesn't seem to let anybody in. And he wants to keep everything super secret. So I'm excited to see how she does with that element, where she's not even letting her heroine in. So I thought that was really, really fucking cool. But I have not finished it yet, so I don't have a final ranking for it. But right now it's sitting at a strong 4. All right, it walked in as a 3. Let's just be honest. That's how Scarlett St. Clair is for me. Like, you're an automatic 3 because you're Scarlett St. Clair, but you got to earn the 5. But she's a strong 4 right now. Yeah, I think she could get there. But yeah, that is what I got for this week. Let me know what you guys did this week. I'd love to know what you guys were reading this week. But yes, lesson learned. Do not read 2 reverse harems at the same fucking time, especially 2 reverse harems that have similar writing techniques and one does it better. Don't do it. It was confusing at times. I got a headache a lot during this week. So that's all I got for you guys today. I will see you guys all soon in another video. Bye.